We gotta move. We gotta move, man. We got Rebel calling in from Virginia. Rebel, you are on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going, Rebel? What do you got for us?
I'm not sure if you can read the topic I typed in or not, but I told you a little.
Well, our call screener does write out a description for us. If you'd like, I can read it. It says, astronauts are paid liars to hide the God of the Bible in heaven above us. Atheists are the poor victims of sci-fi space propaganda. Quote, NASA is set up to deceive the whole world.
Amen. That's true.
Okay. All right. Our call screeners doing their job then. That's good. So that's a lot, Rebel. Where do we start? Where do we start with that?
That's quite a bit.
I mean, what do you want us to do with that information? So astronauts are paid liars to hide the God of the Bible.
Yes, they are, because when you look at NASA's budget, which you guys would argue is to do whatever they want to do with space missions and stuff like that. I would just say a lot of it is used for not only very nefarious agendas with has to do with occult secret society stuff, even as bad as child trafficking, but we don't have to get into that. But it has to do with paying off the astronauts to lie to the whole world. Yeah.
Okay, how do you know this to be true, right? Because obviously that's against what most people believe about NASA. So what source of information are you referencing that makes you very obviously confident in your worldview?
I mean, of a very wide variety of resources are researched thoroughly for the past.
What's your best?
Years.
Give me your best one. Because I'm assuming you don't work at NASA, right? I'm assuming you don't you aren't on the inside of this, so you're having to reference other people, right? So just tell me one.
Well, instead of just doing a he said, she said kind of thing, first I would just stick to the science and my own empirical scientific observations of the Earth that we live on, and everything that I can see and that I can observe for myself is that we live on a level stationary plane, and that there's a bunch of evidence of a quote flat Earth. I like to use the term biblical cosmology, because the Bible does describe a flat Earth enclosed in a dome called the firmament. But besides all the evidence we can get into, the one that does it for me is the fact that bodies of water always find their level at the surface. And speaking about this is very relevant because the majority of the surface of the Earth happens to be water. So how can you get over 70% of bodies of water, flat bodies of water, to make a ball on itself? You just can't do it. It's impossible.
I wasn't asking about whether the Earth was flat. I wanted to know how you know that astronauts are paid to lie. Well,
that's a logical conclusion you can come up with right after that, right? Because if you can conclude that the Earth indeed is flat and that we're enclosed in a dome, and that nobody can leave this solid dome above us to get into this alleged concept of infinite, ever-expanding space, as soon as you figure that out, then you can logically, almost automatically conclude that, okay, then astronauts claiming to go into space must be lying, and they're most likely they're not doing it for free, right? They must be getting paid a lot of money to do it.
Okay, so this is a logical conclusion you've come to based on the premise that the Earth is flat. So you're saying, premise one, the Earth is flat, therefore, premise one, the Earth is flat. Premise two, astronauts say that the Earth isn't flat. So premise three is astronauts are paid to lie. Yeah. Is that the argument that I'm hearing here? I'm correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you've got the right idea, but I want to say the bigger picture, actually, besides the shape of the Earth being flat, is the fact that this concept of a ever expanding, never ending, infinite vacuum of outer space doesn't exist at all. It's nothing but sci-fi. It's just Hollywood. It's Star Wars and Star Trek. The only thing that has been to space is your own imagination. So any astronaut, I don't care what they say about the Earth, any astronaut that has claimed to have left the atmosphere of the Earth and gone into outer space, like the ISS or the moon or wherever, they're all charlatans. They're bold-faced liars.
Okay, so
they're deceivers. Actually, they're actually free. Actually, one thing. Sorry, Dan.
Well, let me tell you this, because we do have, this show focuses on what people believe and why, but the broad variety of the claims you make it beyond what I could talk to you in like 10 minutes. So I'm choosing to focus on one specific topic, if that makes sense. And this isn't to disregard your other beliefs or say that aren't even worth talking about. I think they are, incredibly so. But we have to stick to one topic at a time, because otherwise we don't get anything done, right? So I want to go back. Let's go back to this astronaut thing, right? So you believe that astronauts are bold-faced liars, and that they are getting paid to lie. And you're saying that you believe this because the Earth is flat, so therefore they have to be lying. Okay, that's one way to think about this. But like, how do you know that they are lying? And how do you know that they're being paid to lie? Because to me, that connection isn't necessarily there. Maybe the astronauts are also being fooled about their own space trips. Maybe there's, I mean, yeah, there could be other possibilities here too, right? So like,
so many tracks that can go there.
So like, what made you come to this specific conclusion?
I mean, look, obviously I haven't like gone into their bank account and seen paychecks coming from NASA, right? Like, but I would just think it's very simply reasonable that, they wouldn't be doing their job to deceive the world for free. I think part of the reason why they're okay with lying to the whole world to their face is because they're getting paid a pretty penny for it. And when you look at NASA's budget of $23 billion with a B dollars a year, a lot of it comes from our taxes, which amounts to be $60 million every single day, then, yeah, I could easily see why they are getting paid for it. And one more thing, Dan.
Okay, Rebel, hold on. So did you catch Dan's question though? Because I think what he was saying makes a lot of sense. Like, how do you know that they're lying? Because it could be just as likely that they're actually being fooled like the rest of us, right?
Yeah, or another myriad of possibilities.
What do you mean? Like, the only possibility in my head right now that I can think of how they could possibly be fooled, like as if like us, the general public, and them as the astronauts are in some sort of like wicked double-blind experiment where neither of us know what's going on. It's like if they're getting like drugged or hypnotized before they're coming on these press conferences talking about what they're doing. That's the only way.
Or
otherwise,
there's another possibility. Here's another one. They could be telling the truth.
That's possible.
I mean, here's the thing, Rebel, right? Rebel, here's the thing. It's not just astronauts that know about space, right? NASA is made up of a lot of people, and a lot of people with very technical knowledge on how space works so that they can get there. And guess what? It's not just people at NASA. NASA outsources a lot of their work. The work that's done at NASA isn't just all paid for by employees of the U.S. government. It's contractors. They have to hire roboticists sometimes. They have to get people who can help them get specific materials that'll survive space. There's a lot of people, even just outside of NASA, that are making
these private companies that have no connections to government at all.
Yeah. Like, it wouldn't have to just be NASA. It would have to be SpaceX. It would have to be the companies that get materials to these people. I mean, like, there's all kinds of organizations that are involved here. So I find this premise, right, that it has to be astronauts lying. It's beyond that, isn't it? Wouldn't it have to be that every single person that's ever worked in the space industry has to be deceived or lying on some level?
Deceived, yes. Lying, no. Because this conspiracy, which I believe Satan is at the very top of it, symbolized by that eye, that eye at the top of that pyramid on the back of your dollar bill, the eye of Providence or Lucifer, as they say. It's very compartmentalized of a conspiracy. It's very clever. That's actually what the triangle represents. Satan is the one at the top that knows it all, and then as you go down the different compartments, everyone's on a need-to-know basis, or just like the military works. So yes, I agree. There are engineers, there's astrophysicists, there's college professors, there's electricians. Yeah, they all do, these tasks that are given by NASA and SpaceX and all these other industries as like contract workers, and they're innocent. I'm not saying they're in on it. They're just simply doing their job, thinking what they're doing is benefiting space travel. But in reality, they're just getting a paycheck. But they're innocent, unlike astronauts.
Interesting.
Okay.
And this is because the Earth is flat, like allegedly because the Earth is flat. Or that the universe doesn't actually exist. Sorry, you did clarify on that point. That space outside of what we immediately see. I don't know where that ends. Actually, can I ask you about that? What is that? You said space doesn't exist? Like at all?
That's correct, sir. That's correct.
Okay. So that's kind of interesting. Can I talk to you about that then? What does that mean when I like look up at night at the stars and stuff? What am I actually looking at?
Yeah, so that's all real. Like some people will strawman me and say, "Oh yeah, like the Vatican must be, projecting like lights onto the sky." No, that's just a foolish strawman. So what you're seeing up there is real, but what is not are these big balls of gas, trillions of light years away, and the sun being 93 million miles away and whatever. That's not what it is. Actually, it's just simply luminaries shining from heaven, where God is sitting in his throne.
And they're made of oxygen and like xenon or not xenon, but other chemical elements that we've been able to determine that compose stars, or is that also not true? Yeah, like is that just part of the lie?
I don't know. I don't believe anyone can have the knowledge of what the heavenly luminaries are made out of. My best educated guess is that the sun and moon are some sort of electromagnetic powers, and that's how they're shining. And then the stars specifically shine by a phenomenon known as sonoluminescence, which means it's the type of light that's made when you put out sound frequencies in water. Because I believe above the dome is actually just a huge heavenly ocean.
Did you know? Are you familiar with the science of spectroscopy?
Yes.
Okay. So with spectroscopy, right, we can look at the sun, and actually based on the way that it shines, believe it or not, we can actually determine its chemical elements. Did you know this? That's how we know exactly what the sun is made of, and not only exactly what it's made of, how much of each part of its chemical elements are made of. And based on this science that, again, not just NASA people are doing, but private universities and public ones that have access to radioscopic telescopes and stuff, right, that can view stars, are doing this to other stars, and not just stars, but other bodies of elements in space. And
anything
that's how we're able to
light.
Yeah, and it reflects light. That's how we're able to determine the chemical composition of stuff out there, like in space. Like, do you know that that's happening? Have you heard of this?
Yes, I have. I'm not, I don't find it to be credible, because I believe that there's water above the dome, and if the spectroscopy is not picking up water, then it falls flat on its face.
So I'm curious, what is the source of this information if you don't find the experiments that we can observe with our own eyes? If that's not credible, what source does this information come from that makes it so credible to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a plane and I've never been through water, so I don't know where that line starts.
Nobody can. Dan, I said above the dome. Nobody can get above the dome. Remember?
He did say above the dome, Dan.
I guess I thought I was above the dome, or at least near the top, but I guess I haven't been. So, or anybody that's ever flown in a rocket.
The apex of the dome, I believe, to be about 386,000 feet up. Of course, it would, start to go down as the further you go towards the edge of the flat Earth, which would be a gigantic 360 ice wall. They tell us is the South Pole, Antarctica, but actually it's a gigantic 360 ice wall that's being used as a container to keep in all the ocean water. Because of course, the outside surface of a globe is not a container for water to be kept in. You can cry out gravity all you want, but gravity doesn't make sense either.
What
Hey,
is
Robert,
gravity?
can I ask him a question?
Yeah, sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions. Go ahead, Charles.
No, you're good. I think it's a question that's on the mind of everybody watching right now. Why? What is the reason for this conspiracy? What is there to
It's
gain by
actually
keeping this a secret?
Dan read it in my topic if he still has it available to him. It's in the
So
very
you
first sentence.
think
I said,
you think that they can keep the secret that God exists, but God being all powerful and wanting a relationship with us should circumvent that, right?
right. I've always believed in God since a little child. Like I can't remember when I never did not believe in him, right? So, and I was taught just like everyone, just like you guys and everyone here in the chat, that the earth is a globe and the heliocentric model. You know, I had astronomy class all throughout school and even went to the planetarium, stuff like that. That never took away from my belief in God. But what I mean by NASA hiding God is the proximity of his position relative to us. Like he's much closer than we think. He's literally in heaven above us in his throne. Like when they give this idea of this infinite vacuum of outer space, even for people who believe in God, like devout Christians or Muslims or whatever, they completely take away the concept of God being close to us in heaven.
Okay.
Like you know, these theists have no idea where heaven is, and it's a damn shame.
Okay, Rebel. If let's say I go to the University of Hawaii, because they have a telescope out in Hawaii, right? It's a telescope that you can go visit. You don't actually get to see the telescope yourself because they're constantly using it. Like, you know, you can apply to be able to use the telescope. It'll take like months, sometimes years to be able to use a lot of these if you have a particular project you want to work on. Again, not affiliated with NASA, but you go to this telescope that's looking at space by these private universities, or sometimes this is a public university, but sometimes private universities, I believe, have these. Like, what are they doing? Like, if you're an astronomy major, and you have the opportunity, which I'm assuming happens to astronomy majors who talk about their experiences, they go to these telescopes and they study with this data for a couple weeks. Like, what are they doing? Are they just sitting on their asses? Are they just not working? Like, what's happening? Why are they telling us that they're publishing these research papers with lots of facts and figures every single day? Are they just sitting there making all these numbers up? Like, what is actually happening? Because like ostensibly you can do this too, right? Like if you go to this university and you apply for an internship there or apply to work on a project, like you can have access to it. So that's not being hidden, right? Like if they're letting just students go in. So like what's happening?
I mean, I'm not sure what else you can get besides looking through a telescope other than getting an up close look at the luminaries, which, by the way, if you actually get a chance to do that, they look absolutely nothing like the computer generated images that NASA.
Yeah, that's because they do more than just look at stuff, man. They're like they're taking other kinds of data besides visual information.
Like what, bro?
Like what?
Like the elements that we were just talking about.
Right. Well,
that's one experiment.
It's first of all, it's
looking at it.
You're thinking of the visible spectrum. Telescopes at these universities look at more than just what's within the visible spectrum, right? They're looking through. You're aware of the vision spectrum, right? It's how we get like X-rays and stuff like that. They're looking at all of those and able to determine data. They're not just like putting a big glass and then doing that, right?
Right, but unless, but the thing is, like, unless they can personally verify themselves that what they're looking at is like they're presupposing is a vacuum of space, then you know they're kind of just basing off their data off of presupposition that space is real.
See, this is what I'm getting at. This is where I'm getting lost because it seems like you're doing a lot of presupposing because we can give you all of these experiments and elements and all these things that how do we know what we know? We can give you all these things. Yeah. How do you know that the firmament is there? How do you know there's an ocean on the other side of it? How do you know that God in this firmament above ocean? I don't even know what we're hinting at anymore. Where are you getting this information and why are you so sure of it?
Well, there's more than one firmament. I believe there to be 7, and part of the reason why God is called the Most High is because that's a directional term of his position being the Most High above it all, on this on top of the 7th dome or 7th firmament, right? But I've seen multiple amateur scientists or even professional ones, like from a college, send a rocket up straight up into the air, and it reaches like crazy Mach 3.5 speeds or whatever, and it just stops on a dime when it should have gone to outer space. And you guys can look up SpaceX rocket launches where they sort of go at a parabolic angle, and they'll start to make this crazy phenomenon in the sky, which to me and many others, there's no other explanation for it other than the rocket and the stages of it like ricocheting off the firmament of the Earth. And
I
what
feel
you're
like
seeing
you would
is
have
Rebel.
you would have evidence of damage if that was the case.
Do you have independent evidence
No.
of any of the things that Jerome just said? Because what you're saying is, look at this stuff. The best way to explain is this other thing. Okay, what you're saying is, here is a possible explanation for these events based on what other people have observed. Is there anybody that has independent observations? In other words, is there somebody from a university or somebody who's actually looking at space, maybe yourself and other people in your community, that can actually confirm and say, look, we know that the composition of the firmament is water based on this? I mean, like, what I'm hearing is kind of what I heard with Daniel, is that we're instead looking at what other people have put out there and giving alternative hypotheses for what they're looking at. There's nothing independent going on here. It's just, well, here's what this video does, but they're doing X, Y, and Z, right?
Well, just to clarify, I didn't claim the firmament is actually made out of water. I said water is above it. I'm not sure what the firmament is made out of. When you look into the lexicon definition in the Bible, it describes
even then,
that.
I don't know how you know that.
I need you to explain to me how you know these things. Because if you're trying to convince somebody of something, you can't just say this is it. Good luck with that. I need you to actually tell me why I should believe it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Put it in a way that would make me believe it. Because right now I'm not seeing it.
If you saw the evidence yourself, like it's probably going to be hard to convince you guys just over a simple phone call like this. Like,
listen, I think,
to be honest, I wouldn't be convinced either.
Rebel, I think I could convince you that space exists in a single phone call. I think that's possible for me to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really do. So I think if I can do that, I think you should be able to prove to me that the firmament exists over a phone call. I think you can do that. Like, I honestly do. And I get it. There is limitations with this format of talking with people. But look, if you're going to go out there, you got to bring your A game, my man. Like, we can't just talk about, oh, well, I think this video does this and these people do this. Like, look, again, I don't know. I guess the answer to my previous question was all these people that are applying for research opportunities at universities and other places to look at these telescopes and look at tools that examine space. I guess they're all just full of it. Also, I don't know how satellite TV works, but regardless, we're really out of time with this one, Rebel. I think I am interested in conversing with you because you have some very interesting ideas, but I want you to bring your A game with us next time, right? And not just like, oh, I want you to go. I mean, if you want to send me videos or something in the email, you can do that. But like, I think if I'm able to convince most people that space exists or other bodies of elements in space exist through a phone call, I think you could do the same for the opposite. I don't know. I think it's possible, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's too complicated. Point is, whatever you want to do with it, we could do that. But we are out of time here, Rebel. I hope you do call in a different time, and we can go from there. But gosh, what a call!
Yeah.
What a call, huh?
Yeah, a lot of claims.
There's a lot of things. A lot of things. I think the problem is, again, you ask questions, right? Like you ask questions, I ask questions, and then it goes on to another thing.
Like, no, you didn't answer the thing I asked. Like,
I haven't learned anything.
What kills me when we have these conversations with Christians, especially, is they start making all these inferences, and it's like, is that in the Bible?
Yeah.
Like, where are you getting this from?
There has to be a method where you go from point A to point B. Instead, we're talking about B. We're talking about C. We're talking about D.
Yeah.
We have to start with point A. We really got to start with the principles here. But hey, Rebel,
Yeah.
I want to give you the opportunity. If you call again, I will talk to you again.
Yeah.
I will
The
talk to you again because
yeah.
I want to believe in the ice wall, baby. I want to go see the ice wall. See, book me a first class trip to the ice wall. I'll pay whatever I got. I want to see it. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Just come with some form of evidence. Not just claims. Got to come with some evidence, brother.
Where the fuck did we get our penguins and
Bring me the ice. Bring me a bag of water and say this was ice before and it's from the wall. Like I would like, oh, that's something. Wall. That's something.
That'd be cool though. If somebody, I don't know, that wouldn't be cool.
I would sell it.
If somebody came up to me and said, "Here's a chip from the ice wall," I would probably walk away. I'm
not gonna hold you. I would sell it on eBay. I would do it.
You'd sell that?
Just a bag of water. Hey, folks, don't nobody take my hustle. Don't nobody take my hustle out there.